I was lying on a hospital bed in a thin blue gown, for already in my arm. In exactly 30 minutes, doctors were going to remove my kidney to save my husband's life. He was already in surgery prep next door. Then my phone vibrated. One text. One name I recognized instantly. And in that moment, I realized two things. I wasn't just giving up my kidney. I was giving it to the wrong man. What I did next shocked the doctors and destroyed my marriage forever. Amara had always believed in the kind of love that required sacrifice. The kind that didn't keep score. The kind that showed up when everything else fell apart. She believed in it so deeply that when the doctors told her she was the only compatible donor for her husband, she didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. Minjun was everything she'd ever wanted. When they met 7 years ago at a medical conference in Seoul, she was a newly graduated nurse from Nairobi, attending on a scholarship. He was a rising pharmaceutical executive, charming and ambitious, with a smile that made her forget she was thousands of miles from home. Their connection was instant. He pursued her relentlessly, learning Swahili phrases to make her laugh and cooking ugali in his tiny apartment even though it turned out terrible. 6 months later, he proposed on the Han River at sunset. "I don't care what anyone says," he told her, slipping the ring onto her finger. "You're my person, Amara. Forever." Forever felt real then. It felt real when they married in a small ceremony that blended Korean and Kenyan traditions. It felt real when they moved to Seattle for his new position, when she found work at Providence Medical Center, when they bought their first house with the blue door she'd always wanted. But forever started cracking 18 months ago. It started with his diagnosis. Chronic kidney disease, stage 4, progressing rapidly. The nephrologist explained it in that careful, measured way doctors do when the news is catastrophic. Genetic predisposition. Environmental factors. Irreversible damage. Without a transplant, Minjun had maybe 2 years, possibly less. Amara watched her husband crumble. This man who commanded boardrooms, who negotiated million-dollar deals without flinching. He sat in that consultation room and wept like a child. She held him that night, stroking his hair, whispering promises into the darkness. "We'll figure this out," she said. "We'll get through this together." The search for a donor began immediately. His parents were too old. His younger brother wasn't compatible. The waitlist for a deceased donor kidney stretched years into the future, time Minjun didn't have. One by one, family members were tested and rejected. The genetic matching required was incredibly specific. Then Amara got tested. She remembered the call from Dr. Elizabeth Chin, the transplant coordinator. "Mrs. Park? I have remarkable news. You're a perfect match. I mean perfect. 6 out of 6 antigens. I've rarely seen compatibility this strong between unrelated individuals." Amara had laughed, giddy with relief. "So we can do it? The surgery?" "Technically, yes. But I need you to understand what you're considering. This is major surgery. You'll lose approximately 25% of your kidney function permanently. There are risks, infection, bleeding, blood clots. Long-term, you'll need to be monitored for hypertension, proteinuria. Your life will change." "My life will change more if my husband dies," Amara said simply. Dr. Chin was quiet for a moment. "I need you to take time to think about this. Really think. Not everyone would do what you're considering." But Amara had already decided. That's what love was, wasn't it? Showing up. Sacrificing. Being the answer when someone you loved asked an impossible question. Minjun's reaction, though, that should have been her first warning. When she told him she was a match, she expected tears of joy, gratitude, relief. Instead, he went very still. His face did something strange, something she couldn't quite read. Then he pulled her into a hug that felt more like he was steadying himself than celebrating. "Are you sure?" he asked against her hair. "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?" "Of course I'm sure. Minjun, I love you. You're my husband. But the risks are worth it. You're worth it." He pulled back, searching her face. Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt? Fear? It vanished before she could name it. "You're incredible, you know that? I don't deserve you." She kissed him. "Yes, you do. We're going to get through this, and then we'll have the rest of our lives together. Maybe we'll finally start that family we've been talking about. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, maybe. That conversation happened 4 months ago. 4 months of pre-surgical evaluations, psychological assessments, endless medical appointments. 4 months of watching Minjun become increasingly distant. At first, Amara attributed it to stress. The disease was progressing. He was exhausted, irritable, sleeping poorly. The dialysis sessions left him drained. Of course he was pulling away. He was fighting for his life. But it was more than that. There were the phone calls he took in other rooms, his voice dropping to a murmur. The way he angled his phone screen away when she walked past. The new password on his laptop. His assistant, G1, calling at odd hours, 10 p.m., midnight, once at 2 in the morning. When Amara asked about it, Minjun waved it off. Work crisis. You know how it is. The merger's been insane. Except his company had completed the merger 6 months ago. Her best friend, Thandai, noticed it too. Over coffee 3 weeks before the surgery, Thandai had leaned across the table, her expression serious. Amara, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to really think before you answer. Are you sure about this surgery? I mean really sure. What kind of question is that? He's my husband. I know, but Thandai hesitated. He's been different lately. Distant. And you're about to give him a piece of yourself. Permanently. What if? What if what? What if he leaves me after? Amara laughed, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. Thandai, that's my anxiety talking. Minjun loves me. Does he? The question hung between them like smoke. Amara grabbed her purse, suddenly furious. I can't believe you'd say that. Right now, when I need support. I'm trying to support you. By making sure you're not making a decision you'll regret. They'd left it there, tension crackling. They hadn't spoken since. Amara told herself Thandai was wrong. Just anxious. Projecting her own relationship issues, she was going through a messy divorce, onto Amara's marriage. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of love, betrayal, and unexpected strength. And if you believe self-respect should come before sacrifice, tap the like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Now let's continue. But late at night, when Minjun was working late, again, doubt crept in. She'd find herself checking the Find My Friends app, seeing his location at the office. Or was it the office? The pin hovered over a building she didn't recognize. When she asked, he always had an explanation. Client dinner. Emergency meeting. New office space they were considering. You're being paranoid, she told her reflection. You're stressed about the surgery. That's all this is. If only she trusted that first red flag. The day of surgery arrived on a Thursday in late January. Seattle was gray and wet, rain drumming against the hospital windows as Amara checked in at 4:30 in the morning. Minjun was already there, looking small in his hospital gown, in 4 trailing from his arm. He tried to smile when he saw her. Hey, he said softly. Hey yourself. She kissed his forehead. How are you feeling? Terrified. Grateful. I don't even know. His hand found hers, squeezed. Amara, I need to tell you something. Her heart lurched. What's wrong? Mr. Park. A nurse appeared in the doorway. We need to start your pre-op now. Your wife can walk with you until we reach the surgical wing. Minjun's jaw tightened. Whatever he'd been about to say dissolved. Never mind. It can wait. Minjun. It's fine. We'll talk after. When this is all over. He squeezed her hand again, and this time it felt desperate. I love you. You know that, right? Of course I know that. I love you too. They wheeled him away. Amara watched until he disappeared around a corner, then let a different nurse guide her to her own pre-op room. The process was mechanical. Change into the gown. Remove all jewelry. Sign more consent forms. A young doctor, Dr. Patel, according to his badge, reviewed everything one final time. You understand this is irreversible? He asked gently. Once we remove the kidney, there's no going back. I understand. And you're doing this of your own free will? No one is pressuring you. No one's pressuring me. I want to save my husband's life. Dr. Patel studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You're very brave, Mrs. Park. Your husband is lucky to have you. The nurse, her name tag read Sarah, inserted the 4 with practiced efficiency. We're giving you some fluids now, and a mild sedative to help you relax. Surgery's scheduled for 7 a.m. That's about 45 minutes from now. 45 minutes. Less than an hour until they'd wheel her into the operating room, put her under, and remove a part of her body to save Minjun's life. Less than an hour until everything changed forever. Sarah smiled kindly. Try to rest. I know that sounds impossible, but the sedative will help. Is there anything you need? No, thank you. I'm okay. Except she wasn't okay. As Sarah left, pulling the curtain closed behind her, Amara felt the weight of it all crash over her. The fear she'd been suppressing for months bubbled up. What if something went wrong? What if her remaining kidney failed? What if she died on the table and Minjun had to live with that guilt forever? Stop it, she told herself. You're spiraling. Breathe. She focused on her breathing, counting inhales and exhales, trying to calm her racing heart. The sedative was starting to work. She could feel the edges of her panic softening, her muscles relaxing against the thin mattress. Her phone sat on the bedside table, silent. She should text her mom, let her know the surgery was about to start. Her family in Nairobi had been worried, her mother especially. You don't have to do this, her mom had said over video chat. You could come home. We'll take care of you here. Minjun is my home now, Mama. Her mother's eyes had filled with tears. I know, Mpensi. I know. I just worry. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Amara reached for her phone to send that text, to reassure her mother one more time. Her fingers closed around it. The screen lit up. And that was when she saw it. A text notification. From Ji-won, Minjun's assistant. Amara's first thought was that it was a mistake. Why would Ji-won be texting her? They barely knew each other. They'd met maybe 3 times at company events, exchanged polite small talk, nothing more. Her second thought was that maybe it was about Minjun. Maybe there was a problem with the surgery. A delay. Something wrong. Her hand trembled slightly as she unlocked the phone. The sedative made everything feel slightly unreal, like she was moving through water. She opened the message, and her entire world shattered. She has no idea. Once the surgery is over, we'll finally be free. Amara stared at the words. Read them again. They didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. Another message appeared. I can't wait to stop pretending. This has been the longest year of my life. Then another. After everything settles, we can finally be together. No more hiding. No more lies. Just us. Amara's vision blurred. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. There had to be an explanation. A mistake. Wrong number. Something. But Ji-won's next message destroyed that hope. I still can't believe she actually agreed to give him her kidney. Makes it so much easier, doesn't it? Once he's recovered, we can make a clean break. She'll be too weak to fight it. A laughing emoji. Amara's stomach lurched. She was going to be sick. The room tilted, spinning. She gripped the phone with both hands, forcing herself to breathe, to think, to understand what she was seeing. This was Minjun's assistant. The woman who called at midnight. Who monopolized his time. Who made him smile in ways he hadn't smiled at Amara in months. And she was talking about being free. About being together. About Amara being too weak to fight. With trembling fingers, Amara scrolled up. And up. And up. The messages went back months. 13 months, to be exact. Starting innocuously, work discussions, schedule confirmations. Then shifting. Becoming warmer. More familiar. Flirtatious. 7 months ago, you looked good today. That blue shirt brings out your eyes. 6 months ago, I can't stop thinking about you. This is dangerous. 5 months ago, we need to talk about this. About us. 4 months ago, right after Amara's compatibility test came back positive. This changes everything. If she goes through with the donation, you'll owe her forever. Unless. Unless what? Unless we wait until after. Until you're healthy and strong. Then you can leave. She can't exactly ask for the kidney back. Amara made a sound, half sob, half gasp. Her whole body was shaking now. The four in her arm pulled, pinched. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process what she was reading. She kept scrolling. Each message was a knife. Each word was poison. They'd slept together. Multiple times. At a conference in Portland. At Ji-won's apartment. Once, horrifyingly, in their house while Amara was working a night shift. Your bed is more comfortable than mine, Ji-won had texted, followed by a winking emoji. Minjun's response, let's not push our luck. She almost came home early last time. There were plans. Detailed plans. After the surgery, Minjun would wait 3 months, long enough that it doesn't look suspicious, then file for divorce. They'd already consulted a lawyer about how to protect his assets. Ji-won had been apartment hunting, finding places with 2 bedrooms, for when we're ready to try for a baby. The baby. They wanted a baby together. Amara had been begging Minjun for a baby for 2 years. Let's wait, he always said. Until the timing's right. Until we're more stable. He didn't want a baby with her. He wanted one with Ji-won. And Amara, stupid, trusting, devoted Amara, was lying on a hospital bed with an 4 in her arm, about to hand over her kidney to make it all easier for them. The next text appeared in real time, jolting her back to the present. How much longer? I'm so nervous. What if something goes wrong? And Minjun's reply, from his pre-op room just down the hall. Nothing will go wrong. By noon, this will all be over. Then we can finally start our real life together. I promise. I love you. I love you too. So much. This year has been torture, but it's almost over. Just a few more hours of pretending. Pretending. That's what their marriage was to him. Pretense. A performance. Something to endure until he got what he needed from her. Amara looked at the clock on the wall. 6:42 a.m. 18 minutes until they wheeled her into surgery. 18 minutes until she gave a piece of herself to a man who'd been planning to leave her. Who'd been sleeping with another woman in their bed. Who'd looked into her eyes and said, I love you, while texting someone else the same words. The betrayal was so enormous she couldn't hold all of it. It spilled out of her in a broken sob that she had to muffle with her hand. She couldn't fall apart. Not yet. Not here. But God, it hurt. It hurt worse than anything she'd ever felt. Worse than leaving her family to move to Korea. Worse than the loneliness of being an immigrant in a country that didn't always want her. Worse than every microaggression, every stare, every time someone asked where she was really from. This was the man she'd loved, trusted, built a life with, and he'd been using her. Literally using her body to save his life so he could run off with his mistress. Another message from Ji-won. By the way, I saw her yesterday at the hospital during the pre-op appointment. She looked at you like you hung the moon. It was actually kind of sad. Minjun, don't. I feel guilty enough as it is. Guilty enough to change your mind? The pause. Then, no. I love you. This is what I want. She'll be fine eventually. She's strong. She'll be fine. As if he knew her at all. As if he had any right to make assumptions about her strength, her resilience, her ability to survive his betrayal. Amara's grief hardened into something else. Something cold and sharp and clarifying. She looked at the 4 in her arm. At the hospital gown. At the consent forms on the tray table, her signature fresh and trusting on the dotted line. She thought about Minjun in the next room, probably nervous but confident. Confident that she loved him enough to go through with this. Confident that her devotion was unconditional. Confident that he could have his kidney and his mistress too. And then she realized something profound. She had a choice. 18 minutes. She had 18 minutes to decide who she was going to be. The woman who sacrificed herself for a man who didn't deserve it? Who gave up her kidney, her health, her future, so he could walk away with someone else? Or the woman who said no? The hospital room was very quiet. Outside, she could hear the muffled sounds of the hospital waking up, rolling carts, hushed voices, The ping of elevators. Normal sounds. The world continuing as if hers hadn't just imploded. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from G1, this one with a photo attached. Amara opened it before she could stop herself. It was a screenshot of a vacation rental. A beach house in Maui. For our celebration trip after he recovers, the caption read, "Can't wait to finally have you all to myself." Something snapped inside Amara. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a clean, quiet break. Like a bone that had been bearing too much weight for too long. She pressed the call button. Sarah appeared almost immediately, her kind face creased with concern. "Mrs. Park? Are you all right? You look pale." Amara's voice cracked. She tried again. "I need to speak to Dr. Chin. Right now. Please. Dr. Chin is prepping for your surgery. Is something wrong? Are you in pain? Please." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Please, I need to talk to her. It's urgent. I need to." She couldn't say it. If she said it out loud, it would be real. Irreversible. Sarah's expression shifted from concern to alarm. "Okay, let me page her." "Just breathe, Mrs. Park. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out." She disappeared. Amara sat frozen, phone clutched in her lap, messages burning into her retinas. She couldn't stop looking at them. Couldn't stop reading the casual cruelty, the easy intimacy between Minjun and Ji-won. The way they discussed her like she was an obstacle. A means to an end. She'll be too weak to fight it. That's what Ji-won had written. And she was probably right. After major surgery, during recovery, weakened and in pain, that's when Minjun was planning to leave. Maximum vulnerability. Minimum resistance. It was calculated. Cruel. Sociopathic. How had she not seen it? How had she missed the signs? Or had she seen them and chosen to ignore them, too invested in the fantasy of their perfect love to acknowledge the reality? Dr. Chin swept through the curtain, still in her surgical scrubs, a cap covering her hair. Her eyes went immediately to Amara's face, and her expression tightened. "Mrs. Park. Sarah said you needed to speak with me urgently. What's going on?" Amara opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The words were too big, too impossible. Dr. Chin sat down on the edge of the... She typed one response. "You planned to leave me after I saved your life. There's nothing to fix. Please don't contact me again." Then she blocked him everywhere. Social media. Every possible channel. The divorce papers were filed a week later. Washington was a no-fault state, which made things simpler. No need to prove adultery or abandonment. Just irreconcilable differences. Minjun contested it at first, sent his lawyer with offers of reconciliation, of marriage counseling, of working through this together. Amara's lawyer shut it down every time. "My client has made her position clear," her attorney said. "She wants a divorce. The reasons are irrelevant. She's entitled to end the marriage." The settlement was straightforward. They'd kept their finances mostly separate, Amara's insistence, from the beginning. She wanted the house, or rather, she wanted him to buy out her half. She'd find somewhere else. Somewhere that didn't smell like him, didn't hold memories of the life she'd thought they had. Minjun gave her everything she asked for without fight. Guilt, or maybe he was just eager to move on to G1 without complications. Amar didn't care which. Her family in Nairobi called every day worried. "Come home," her mother begged. "Come home and let us take care of you." "I can't run away, Mama. I have a job here. A life." "What life?" "He destroyed it. Then I'll build a new one." Easier said than done. The reality of divorce was exhausting. Dividing possessions. Changing names on accounts. Fielding questions from friends and colleagues who'd thought they were the perfect couple. "What happened?" they asked. "You seemed so happy." "Things change," Amara said, and left it at that. She didn't tell anyone about the kidney. About how close she'd come to making a sacrifice she could never undo. That was too raw, too personal. Only Thandai knew the full story, and she kept it locked up tight. Work was a refuge. At the hospital, Amara could lose herself in patient care, in the rhythm of vitals and medications and rounds. Her colleagues noticed she was quieter, more withdrawn, but they gave her space. Nurses understood grief. Understood that sometimes you just needed to keep moving until the wound scarred over. 3 months after the canceled surgery, Amara ran into Dr. Chin in the cafeteria. "Amara, how are you?" "Surviving. How are you?" "Good. Busy. I've been thinking about you, actually." Dr. Chin hesitated. "I probably shouldn't tell you this, but your ex-husband found a donor." Amara's heart stuttered. "He did?" "His brother. Turns out they ran more detailed tests and found compatibility they'd missed before. The surgery was 2 weeks ago. Successful. He's recovering well." Amara sat down hard. Min-jun was going to live. He was going to be fine. And he'd done it without her. Part of her was relieved. She'd carried a small, secret guilt that maybe she was condemning him to death by refusing. But he was fine. He'd found another way. Another part of her was furious, because it meant he'd never actually needed her. Never actually been willing to die without her. He just wanted the easier option. The wife who'd do anything for him. "Are you okay?" Dr. Chin asked gently. "I don't know. I think I'm angry." "You have every right to be. I almost gave up my kidney for him. I was on the hospital bed. For in my arm. 30 minutes away. And I almost went through with it, even knowing what he'd done, because I thought he'd die otherwise. But you didn't go through with it. You chose yourself. Why does choosing myself feel like the wrong choice?" Dr. Chin sat down across from her. "Because we're taught that sacrifice is noble. That putting others first is love. But real love doesn't ask you to destroy yourself. Real love doesn't manipulate or deceive. What you did, choosing yourself, that wasn't selfish. That was survival." Amara nodded, throat tight. "Thank you. For everything that day. You could have judged me, but you didn't. Never. You deserved better than what he gave you. I hope you find it." Better came slowly, in small increments. Amara moved into a small apartment in Capitol Hill, all her own. She painted the walls colors she loved, deep teal in the bedroom, warm yellow in the kitchen. Bought furniture that was hers, not theirs. Built a life that didn't have Min-jun's shadow over it. She started therapy. A black woman therapist who specialized in trauma and betrayal. Dr. Angela Morrison didn't sugarcoat anything. "What you experienced was profound betrayal," Dr. Morrison said in their first session. "Not just adultery, exploitation. He was willing to take a piece of your body while planning to discard you. That's not just heartbreak. That's abuse." Hearing it labeled as abuse shifted something in Amara. She'd been blaming herself for not seeing the signs, for being too trusting, for almost making a catastrophic mistake. But Dr. Morrison helped her see that the blame belonged to Min-jun. He was the one who lied, who cheated, who manipulated. "You were a good wife," Dr. Morrison said. "He was a bad husband. Those are separate truths." Slowly, painfully, Amara began to believe it. 6 months after the divorce, she heard through mutual friends that Min-jun and Ji-won had broken up. Apparently, once the chase was over, the relationship fell apart. Min-jun had been too needy, too demanding. Ji-won had gotten bored. Amara felt nothing when she heard. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just a distant, mild interest, like hearing gossip about strangers. That's when she knew she was healing. She started dating again, tentatively at first. A few coffee dates that went nowhere. Then she met Marcus, a software engineer with kind eyes and a gentle sense of humor. He made her laugh. He didn't push. When she told him she was divorced, he said, "Me too. It's brutal, isn't it?" They took things slow. Amara didn't tell him about the kidney, about the surgery that didn't happen, for months. When she finally did, lying in bed one Sunday morning, Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "You almost gave up a kidney for him?" "I loved him. I thought love meant sacrifice." "It does. But not like that. Not when the other person's taking advantage." Marcus pulled her closer. "I'm glad you said no. I'm glad you're still whole." "I don't feel whole. I feel like I lost something that day." "What did you lose?" Amara thought about it. "My innocence, maybe. My ability to trust completely. My belief that love conquers everything. And what did you gain? I don't know yet. But slowly she was figuring it out. She gained self-respect. The knowledge that she could make hard choices, even when they hurt. The understanding that her value wasn't in what she could give others, but in who she was. She gained perspective. On relationships, on red flags, on the difference between healthy sacrifice and self-destruction. She gained strength. Not the kind that comes from enduring pain, but the kind that comes from choosing not to. A year after the canceled surgery, Amara went back to Kenya for a visit. Her mother held her for a long time at the airport, crying into her shoulder. "My brave girl," she whispered. "My strong, brave girl." Amara spent 3 weeks there, letting her family love her. Eating her mother's cooking. Listening to her father's stories. Playing with nieces and nephews who didn't care about her divorce or her pain. They just wanted their auntie to play. One afternoon, sitting on the porch with her mother, Amara said, "I almost gave him my kidney, Mama. I came so close." Her mother's hand found hers. "But you didn't. Does that make me a bad person?" "No, Mpensi. It makes you a person who chose life. His life didn't seem less valuable than mine. But yours didn't seem less valuable than his. That's the difference." Amara leaned her head on her mother's shoulder, watching the sun set over Nairobi. The sky was orange and pink and impossibly beautiful. She'd forgotten how beautiful Kenyan sunsets were. "I think I'm going to be okay," she said quietly. "I know you are. You've always been a survivor." Back in Seattle, life continued. Amara got promoted to charge nurse. Marcus asked her to move in with him. She said yes. She bought a new phone, new number, completely disconnected from Minjun and that whole chapter of her life. She never saw him again. Heard he'd moved to California, started over somewhere new. She hoped he'd learn something. Doubted it, but hoped anyway. On the 2-year anniversary of the canceled surgery, Amara stood in her bathroom, looking at her reflection. No surgical scars. No missing kidney. Just her, whole and intact. She thought about the woman she'd been, lying in that hospital bed, trembling and in shock. That woman had been terrified. Heartbroken. Shattered. But that woman had also been strong enough to say no. "Thank you," Amara whispered to her reflection. "Thank you for saving us." She'd thought the hardest thing she'd ever do was walk away from saving Minjun's life. Turns out the hardest thing was walking toward her own. But she'd done it. One day at a time, one choice at a time, she'd built a new life from the wreckage of the old one. And that life was good. Not perfect. She still had bad days, still struggled with trust, still woke up sometimes with the phantom weight of that 4 in her arm. But it was hers. Entirely, completely hers. That day in the hospital, lying in that thin blue gown with 18 minutes to decide, she'd made the choice that saved her life. Not his. Hers. And that made all the difference. The end. If you believe no one should sacrifice themselves for betrayal, like this video and follow our channel for more powerful stories like this.